Today we're going to talk about the elements of oratory, or better known as persuasive speaking. In speech class this year, we've talked a little bit about informative speaking and what it means to inform the audience, as well as tailoring your speech to the audience. Today we're going to look at how does the audience respond to certain topics that you feel strongly about. First off, there's different types of oratory and debate, and the elements that I'm going to present today first include one that you're probably familiar with, and that is a sermon. The sermon that you might be familiar with does include a persuasive element and/or oratory. The sermon that you're familiar with is generally just as you might see it in church or Martin Luther King Jr. And some of the definitions of what would be considered in an element of a sermon are that it's persuasive, inspiring action, meaning that they're asking you to do something. It's not just talking about something that they feel strongly about, but it's inspiring you to go out and act. It's emotionally appealing. They draw on things that are important to you or that you feel is significant in your life. It also addresses the needs and concerns of its audiences. So in a sermon specifically, it'll address something that perhaps is religious based that you might feel guilty about or that might be upcoming in the calendar year, for example, an Easter address or Palm Sunday. Also, most of the time, sermons are colorful and rhythmic. You also have seen, for example, Sister Act, when the sermons that go on in church towards the end include the music and include different types of singing and dancing and raising their hands above their head. Those are all definitions of an element that are included within sermons. Another element of oratory is rhetoric. Rhetoric is the ability to use language effectively. Now, many of you, just think for a second. Think of someone that is able to use language in a way that you are able to understand clearly and causes you to pause and to think. Rhetoric is that ability. You're able to pick the words that right out of your brain. You're able to use the language in a way that gets your point across. The way that this is done is really practice. Another element of oratory is persuasion. Persuasion is writing or speaking that is meant to convince the readers to act or think in a certain way. You'll hear persuasive speaking all the time during political events. Persuasive speaking is an event in our own speech and one-act debates. We have persuasive speaking and writing in the classroom. Teachers or coaches can give you a persuasive speech to help you feel or help you identify a certain type of important lesson. And within persuasion, there are 3 persuasive appeals that are really important. And part of this is what we saw already that we found in sermons. The 3 persuasive appeals are emotional, which is titled pathos, logical or logos, and ethical and ethos. And we'll talk about each one of those, and we'll describe what each one of those are. Emotional appeals do just that. They apply or appeal to your own emotions. Take, for example, this ad. Family trees are like every other tree. They need water. And this is an ad for Discover Boating. It's appealing to you in your family values, your emotional appeal. Now, the logical appeal, or logos, is language that appeals to the common sense or logic, reason. Products are endorsed by reputable figures, people we can trust. So celebrities might endorse something. This particular ad is endorsed by a physician or 20,679 physicians. Obviously, these physicians were wrong, but this language on this ad is appealing to your sense of logic or reason. Today, the difference in this is quick, slow. These are both killers. These are appealing to your logic and your reason. Now, the last appeal of persuasive speaking or writing is the ethical appeal, ethos. Language that appeals to our sense of morality, what is right and wrong. So in this ad, stop climate changes before it changes you. And this is just showing how the evolution of what happens in climate change can happen to you. This is a sense of your morality. Now, we spoke about the audience and purpose, but just to give you a quick overview, we want to make sure whenever you're speaking or whatever you're writing about, you make sure that you need to think about who is listening to the speech, what are their interests, demographics, etc. If you're speaking to a 5-year-old kid, you're probably not going to talk to them about morality and ethos of climate change. You would more likely talk to them about, not hitting their friends. Also included in this that we've spoke about before is the purpose. Before one begins to think about delivering a speech, one must determine why one is giving the speech. Why are you talking about this subject? What does it appeal to? How is it important? Why is it something that you must talk about or write about? This establishing that will help you with giving your speech. So elements of a speech, restatement, repetition, using an idea in different language, giving key points and parallelism, and rhetoric, rhetorical questions, asking a question when the answer is evident. All of these things will help you give a good persuasive speech. Lastly, the important last piece is, of course, diction. Choice and arrangement of word. Dictions may be casual, formal, sophisticated, or simple. This comes back to the purpose and to your audience, what's important. Now, if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope this has helped you identify some of the elements of oratory and given you a great look at what we're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks.